Let me ask you something. When stress shows up, and let's be honest here, it does show up a lot, do you feel like you're managing it or it's managing you? Let that sit for a second. Because in my work, whether I am teaching or speaking or working with clients using neuroscience-based tools, I hear this one over and over again. It's like people always feel like they need to be fixed. But here's the hardcore fact, my friend. You're not broken. Your nervous system just might be exhausted. Most of us have never learned really how to release stress, only how to push through it. Unfortunately, you stumble upon people like myself that share ways to be kind to the mind, use neuroscience-based tools that are already available to you, right? Basically, how to hug it out with yourself and stress less. And that's why today's conversation is so important because I'm not alone in this. Stress isn't the problem per se, it's what we do with it. Most of us are taught to tough it out or push through it instead of learning how to actually let it move through us. And there's so much of that swirling in this turbulent world right now that we could really use this. Before we go there, if this resonates with you, I just want you to go ahead and make sure you download this episode of Holistically Speaking. Maybe you save it so that this conversation could be there when you need it, like your best friend. Whether it's your favorite podcast platform that you're listening on or you're watching it over on YouTube, just let us know and let's get that conversation going. And so let's take it to that next level. I want to bring on Brett Cotter. He is founder of Stress Is Gone, a nonprofit who has spent decades teaching people how to clear the stress and the traumatic memories from the body in real time. This isn't theory. This is practical, experiential, and deeply human work. And I know that because I do it too. But the more tools we have, the better. We have to have more things in that little brain candy jar. So, Brad, I'm really glad you're here to add to the jar, to share ways to be kind to the mind. And it's such a joy to have you here on Holistically Speaking.
Thanks so much for having me on, Hilary. I'm really excited to be here.
We've had a couple conversations, and I love when I really align with people, and I know that we're on this mission to really help people with their own emotional well-being. Really, it's about being your own healthcare advocate. But somewhere, somehow, we get into this work, and that's usually the question people have is, how did Brett come into this line of work? What's your story?
Great question. So I got into this work when I was 27. An incredible sequence of events inspired me to start meditating. Right at the beginning of my meditation practice, I started to realize I had a pattern, which was like a big problem. I realized from age 15 to 27, I had issues with jealousy with my relationships with women. And I was in another relationship, and I started to realize in my meditations that it was around the 18-month mark where the jealousy, the teeth really came out and started to ruin the relationship. So I was right at that mark in this relationship that I was in when I was 27. And, what do we try and do? We try and fix it. Normally when we try and fix something, we kind of mess it up worse. But I got really lucky. I got referred to by another really incredible sequence of events to a healer in Sedona, Arizona. And within 5 minutes of sitting down with this man, the deep cellular memories that were at the root of the jealousy came to the surface. So I actually saw the memory at the root of the issue. So the way that session went down, and it lasted about 90 minutes, first I felt the jealousy start to unlock and release from my body, and I viscerally felt it. Like I was almost like in a jealous rage. Then once the jealousy released, then the anger underneath it came up and released. Then the fear and sadness underneath the anger came up and released. And the core thing that was there was the fear of abandonment. And that unlocked and released. So in one 90-minute session that changed my life forever, the fear of abandonment left me, which put me in this situation where so much changed in me from that 90-minute session that jealousy never ruined another relationship in my life. And anyone that knows somebody or, is dealing with jealousy, that it's typically not a one session and done. It's really like a deeper thing that could take years to figure out where it's coming from. So in that moment, I became like a moth to a flame with this work. The flame was spirit and unconditional love that comes through the heart. And I just wanted to get to know this divine intelligence energy more and more. That changed me in that 90-minute session. So I learned from that person for about 3, 4 years. I learned from a Shaolin Grandmaster from China. I took 2 levels of training with him. And then I took 2 levels of training with the founder of Theta Healing, Viana Stiebel, and a few other teachers. And that was all between 1999 and 2001. And then I started leading my own workshops. I had my own coaching practice, and the rest is history.
It's such an amazing thing to hear people's journeys. It's one of my favorite things about doing this show is that we all have our path to a higher level of emotional intelligence, healing, just being a better human being, really. It's just a reminder to those tuning in that there's no one path, right? And you don't have to be a guru, you don't have to be born on an ashram. That's cool if you were, but the majority of us were not. And we come into it because wouldn't you say a lot of it is due to the fact that we have to have an awareness that something is not comfortable in our bodies and our mind. And maybe we don't know what it is in the moment. It just feels kind of like an inkling or, I don't like the way this feels, this tension in my body. And then from that awareness, you start seeking out how you want to feel, you know?
I love how you just put that. The way I look at it is like if you think of a bicycle wheel, you have the tire on the outside, you have the hub in the middle, and you have all these spokes all going to the middle. So the way I look at it is here's the source, the center of the universe where we come from. We're all somewhere on the bicycle tire, and then we each have our own path home. That's why everyone has such a unique journey. And to me, you're 100% right. There's something inside of us that we're like, why do I do that? Why did I overreact on my wife? Why did I overreact on my child? What is that kind of overtakes me? And that's not how I want to be. And then we start looking inside. Once we start looking inside, now a whole new universe opens up. There's one statement that I heard many years ago in the beginning of my spiritual journey, which was, one that learns through the heart center needs no master. And I have continually come back to that every single day of my life, in my meditation practice, and then in my everyday life. So when life triggers me, it gets me upset, angry, sad. It's all emotions that are stemming from my heart. So I go deep into those emotions, underneath the emotions, to find the peace again, to open up my heart, to love the pain again. That's kind of like one of my core mottos. One that learns through the heart center needs no master. So I love when you brought up, like, you don't have to be a guru, you don't have to be anything, you know what I mean? It's just, we're all people and we're all on that wheel, and we're all eventually going home to the hub, the source of the universe.
I love that. Going home to the hub. I can visually see it. And I think visuals can really help people sometimes. And we see a lot of that, like a mandala or anything where there's like this circle of life. We really are, it's about being in the center, the oneness, you know, and not seeing everything outside of ourselves. So the way you put that, it's just so organically natural to think we all have our own spokes to the middle, to the oneness. And there's no journey that's right or wrong. And who dictates that anyway? Right? Where's the judgment of what's right and wrong? We need to be kinder to ourselves, don't you think?
I loved in the introduction when you said that, we got to learn how to hug it out with ourselves, because the final step in all the techniques that I teach usually end up with somebody laying down on the couch with some sunlight coming in, touching their tension, breathing deeply and slowly into it, and you're literally hugging it out with yourself. You're connecting with the pain, you're breathing into it, you're expressing your emotions. And then the one unique thing I feel with my work is that I teach people how to talk to their higher power. Now, their higher power is nothing separate from themselves. It is themselves. It's just a higher faculty, a higher way of thinking, right? So if you think about it, what does science tell us? We use like or we know about 10% of our brains. So just think about that uncharted territory. To me, the higher power is there, right? So we're just connecting with ourselves. So the touching the emotion, hugging it out with ourselves, breathing into it from the inside out, expressing all the pain. And when we do that, we're just kind of unwinding tension. It's like unscrewing from our heart, our lungs, wherever those memories are stored as we express it. And then calling in the higher power for me is just like a gentle, miraculous sweep of a broom that goes into the pain and kind of heals those little nooks and crannies where the pain settled in. It kind of releases all that from the inside out.
You have a beautiful way of expressing stuff. You have really a beautiful way of like creating the visual, the gentle sweep of the um the broom. I mean, it creates such a loving, heart-centered visual, and we need more of that.
It's when you get good at it, it becomes like a transcendent experience because taking it, there's always levels to the game. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll squint and look into the sunlight before I lay down and do this so that the image of the sun is still in the center of my mind. And as I'm breathing, I'm expanding that light. And then I'm breathing even more as I'm using the technique, I'm expanding the light into my heart. And then once the heart connects with the light and it opens up, it pours the light into the pain. And now you're literally letting the light coming through your heart heal your pain. So it's just really becomes like this passive surrender to the light that is within all of us.
It reminds me a lot when I'm doing my sessions with clients, or even if I'm in a bigger room, because I think it's a frequency we're putting out there, isn't it? We're all connected, and that's not woo woo. That's energy, and energy is science, you know. But when I'm doing work with people, I will use the light analogy a lot because when you think about even the aura of the energy that you're putting out, you're radiating some kind of heat and energy. If you think about that like a warm blanket and the color that potentially makes you feel safe, because it really does come back to safety, right? What is that color for you? What is the color that you're emitting that you wish could be like an energetic snuggie in a way?
Yeah.
And then if you see that and you see that light around you, and then you're enveloping it and it's hitting every cell of your cellular level, that's just like it's the most calming thing ever. I love doing that, especially in havening sessions as well. In this world, when we talk about healing, a lot of times people are like, it's too hard. It's too hard to heal. Our belief systems come up. And if they don't understand the science behind it, it's too hard. But why does science have to be difficult? Why do we make it difficult?
To get people ready to receive this work, I do a number of affirmations with them about how easy it can be. Because the mind doesn't believe it can be easy. The mind believes it's going to be a gauntlet of a healthcare system to navigate through. And each time you bump into a different obstacle, it gets harder and harder. So it's just helping the person remember how easy it can be, showing them how to reopen the heart and feel that energy from inside them because it's always there.
Yeah.
It's just tuning into it.
Yeah.
It really comes into tuning into it and expanding it.
And being open to the possibilities of what maybe you haven't explored yet. There's one reason that I think we truly connect, and it's our work with those who are trauma survivors, first responders, veterans. You have a nonprofit called Stress Is Gone, dedicated to working with these communities. How did you fall into that work? Like, why for you did that become so important to show up for that community of people?
Great question. So I have 5 veterans from different branches that all served in different eras of conflict in my family. And I think it was around 2012 when the news kept on showing these scandals at the VA where people were dying waiting online for surgeries. And they weren't getting seen and they weren't getting cared for. So I developed this app called PTSD Free, which my idea was if I could help them release all their stress while they're waiting in line, that at least will make that wait easier if they're not stressing about it and they release their emotional pain. So the app was awesome. It set up their meditation practice. It helped them resolve traumatic memories, and it helped them learn how to breathe and really marry their stress with their breath. So every time they were stressed, the app would ping them. So the app got smart to when they were going to be stressed. So I really got into this because I wanted to help my dad. And I wanted him to be the first tester of this app. He started testing it, but I couldn't get a hold of him for like a month. He was like ducking me. And he finally calls me back and he goes, Brett, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to say this to you, but I'm just not an app guy. My fingers are too big for the phone. So my father was a firefighter, a Marine, construction worker. He could build a house with his bare hands, but his fingers were very big. So I'm like, Dad, no problem. Why don't we just do a session, right? Why don't we just do a coaching session? You don't have to use the app, because now I'm starting to work with more veterans. And I just say, look, all this work that I'm doing with veterans right now, it's all for nothing if the one that matters most to me falls through the cracks, right? And he's like, are you sure you want to pop the lid off this top? My dad always felt his demons were bigger than him. And I said, yeah, Dad, I'm sure. He's like, okay, this was on a Tuesday night when we were speaking. I remember where I was like it was yesterday. So we set up a call for Friday. The next day, while he was shopping with one of his other fireman buddies, Bob Milmore, he had a bleeding stroke in the center of his brain. And 9 days later, he passed away. So we never had the opportunity to do that session. After crying like a baby for 6 months, I started writing. And I started writing my first book called The 3 Keys to Managing PTSD. And it had all the stuff that was in the app, but it was accessible for anybody. It was accessible for anyone that could read. And I wrote it in a very digestible language. I wrote it in a language that it's very veteran friendly with the analogies that I used. Veterans loved it. And it was dedicated to my dad. I wrote a 1-page dedication to him. There's pictures of him in Vietnam, from his firefighter years and from his later years. I've done a lot of work with veterans. Since that book was published, I started to work more and more with the VA and other organizations. We did a huge GoFundMe in 2013 for homeless veterans in New Jersey. We got our books to every sheltered homeless veteran in the state of New Jersey. So that was really important to me. And I always feel like whenever I'm delivering those books or I'm doing an event for veterans and those books are with me, that he's right next to me. And it's kind of like a cathartic path, that keeps me connected with him. So that's how I got into working with veterans.
What an incredible story. And
Thank you.
knowing that you're able to honor him, and his memory is in every single book that's given to somebody else who's lived their own experience. And I think that goes back to how everybody's path is different. I've heard the story before. You said something a couple of seconds ago when you were talking about your dad not, you sure you want to open this story? I've heard that so many times from people who have had parents who, Holocaust survivors, or they've been in wartime, or they've served in the service. The reason why is they're like, I don't want to put my burdens on you. Are you sure you want to open this Pandora's box? Because once you hear the atrocities or you are able to visualize what I lived, you can't unsee it, right? So I think that's why some parents tend to keep that door closed, but that winds up being our ancestral and generational trauma anyway in some manner. So why would we want to pass that along generations to come,
You bring up such an important topic of this secondary trauma or vicarious trauma.
Yep.
The first thing we do in our trauma recovery coaches training is I teach people how to release their reaction real time as they're listening to their client. So when we hear these traumas, it's just normal human nature for our body to go into a stress reaction because those stories are going to trigger something in us. So the first thing we do as the practitioner is touch the tension wherever it comes up in us. We breathe into it and we're clandestinely releasing it as we're listening. So what this does is your client's trauma actually is clearing you out as the practitioner. And as you're listening, truly listening without judging, without trying to advise, you're just witnessing, that's clearing their trauma out. So it's like this symbiotic relationship between the practitioner and the client, or the coach and the client, where you're both being healed. And all it takes is that the coach or the practitioner to just embrace their own stress. Typically mental health professionals, when they're back to back to back sessions throughout the day and they're hearing this and they don't know this technique, this is all compiling
Hmm.
and accumulating on top of them. So by the end of the day or the end of the week, it's an incredible amount of secondary stress or vicarious trauma that causes burnout. So
Hmm.
I feel like with the state of the world, it's really important for healthcare professionals to understand, especially mental health professionals, to understand how to release this from the inside out real time so we're not
Hmm.
walking around with it. And the beautiful thing is, as you release your stress, the window opens wider for your intuition to come through of how spirit wants to help you and the client. So what I've done over the last 25 years is develop that inner ear. So I'm always listening for the deeper guidance that wants to come through, the next exercise, the next question, the next release, right? So I'm
Yep.
always listening for that. And then I'm always releasing my body stress. It's almost like the Karate Kid with the wax on, wax off thing.
Hmm.
So we're always waxing off the stress as it comes up, with the gentle touch and the breath. I'm so glad you brought that up because the vicarious trauma that we absorb it's a big deal for us right now.
Well, I'm really glad you're talking about secondary traumatic stress and vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue. I mean, that's for me, honestly, that's an area that I love to share and talk about because it's not talked about enough. And while we tend to say that it impacts the healthcare workers because they're in their service, they're hearing it constantly. Sometimes in the sick care system we live in, it's one after another, patient, client, without a chance to take a step back and regulate your own emotions so you're ready for the next person. But we also see it with the veterans. We see it with our government workers, our first responders, and honestly, forgotten first responders, which are the journalists, because that's what got me into this work is that when I was impacted by covering a story like 9/11 as a 20 something year old reporter that was definitely not covering that kind of material, who was? I was taking it all in and I slowly learned that, if we don't understand that this is something that's potentially not happening directly to us and putting our amygdala in danger, and it's potentially the duress of someone else, whether we're experiencing it, watching it on television, scanning our phones every 5 seconds, or even hearing about it from a client or a patient or somebody in our circle. If we don't understand that this is not a threat to us, it could have the reaction as if it is, right? And then suddenly we're taking it home. We're burned out. We're overwhelmed. We're hyper vigilant. We're not getting along with our partners or our children because we are taking it in as a threat. This is a topic, Brett, that I think is so important that we talk about more, especially in this sick care system we live in, to remind our practitioners out there that you have to be your own practitioner in your own life first, whether you're doing it as a business or just in your own life.
And there's no way I would be able to do what I do listening to the traumatic stories, right?
Right.
So, working with veterans, first responders, um, all types of trauma survivors, military sexual trauma, domestic violence. Um, the stories are like unspeakable. So, as I'm doing this, as I'm listening, I'm leaning in, but I'm also releasing all my stress,
Hmm.
right? And in the moments I don't know what to say because the story got so unspeakable, I'm leaning in with more compassion, letting my heart open, and releasing my stress. So the
Hmm.
compassion is what is present.
We need more compassionate care. We
Yeah,
we need more of that.
this is one thing I learned over the last 25 years is that all emotional pain releases when it's seen, heard, and loved. So when we're sitting with somebody and we provide open space for them to express themselves, it's now being seen with our eyes because we're witnessing them. It's being heard with our ears. And if we could release our stress and open our heart, it's being loved. Now, you don't have to tell the person that you love them. Subconsciously, they're going to feel it, they're going to resonate with it. And the most amazing thing happens when someone shows you the thing that they could not show anyone in their life because it was so frightening to them and so disturbing to them. But when you're not disturbed by it, neither are they. They're like, wow, they can sit with this. And you're not turned away with your arms crossed. You're like leaning in, like, please tell me more. I want to hear everything. What
Right.
happened next? Right? And they're just unpacking it, unpacking it, unpacking it. To me, it's a divine service, and it's how the universe is just helping us. But the key, like you said, we have to help ourselves. We have to be that like inner coach to be like, oh, I feel some tension there at the bottom of my heart. I'm going to breathe into it. Okay, please tell me more. And you're breathing in. It's like learning how to walk and chew gum, right? For a
Yeah.
mental health professional, right? You're listening and you're breathing.
Mm.
If for all the mental health professionals or any parents that are dealing with kids that are going through a lot, I know there's so many of us out there, just imagine being there for your child, no matter what age they are, leaning in. And when you want to react and tell them, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, that's part of ancestral trauma. It's part of our genes trying to fix them. But guess what? It doesn't work. So when you can see, hear, and love your child or your spouse for who they are, that's when the healing happens. Because when you can do it, they see you doing it, and then they're like, oh, if they could do it, I could do it.
Yeah. It really all comes back to safety. Creating
Yes,
that safe haven, that safe place, you know?
the safe place.
It's so beautiful to be able to be witness to somebody else's safe place and know that you're part of it, and you're trusted to be there. And it's less about you, but like you said, it's symbiotic. And, we use the term client, patient. I think it really is a partnership. It's a partnership because we do find healing just from certain stories we hear. And I don't know about you, but when I'm with somebody and I'm supporting them and helping them, there's always a takeaway I get. And it happens to be right before I go into session, something was in my mind that I was thinking about. And I'm like, well, ain't that something?
How about the days where you see three people that have the same issue that you're working on yourself, and it's like the universe really nailing the message home, you know?
It's so true. Like we forget the signs sometimes. We don't see them as signs. We miss the signs. And it's like just be open to the possibility that the universe or whomever you believe in, God, spirit, angels, whomever you call that higher thing that's present is working for you, right? When we surrender and let go and just let it come in like that light, amazing things happen. I mean, we can talk about that for hours. I do want to mention, though, that Brett has offered a free resource through Stress is Gone. We're going to put that in the notes of this podcast. There'll be a link. Grab it, download those resources. There's so much you can benefit from what Brett shares. We also have a women's retreat that we can talk about a little bit. You have that coming up since this is dropping a little bit before that. I would love to give you the opportunity to share this women's retreat that you're doing since we're talking so much about emotional pain being healed.
This is our third annual women's retreat at the Himalayan Institute in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. It's an incredible, like 400-acre campus in the heart of the Poconos. There's this converted barn into a chocolate and coffee factory on campus. So you walk over there, you get your morning coffee. It's an amazing experience. Then we usually have a bonfire on the Sound of Music Hill. It just looks exactly like the hill in the Sound of Music. That's why they call it that. But we rent out the biggest room, and it's from Friday night to Tuesday afternoon. You could come for the weekend, you could come for the whole 5 days, or you could come just for the Saturday night main event, which is called the Dance of Destiny. We have 5 practitioners coming in from around the world that are the top in their field. So we have Tony Bergens, the founder of Journey Dance,
Love
right?
Tony. She's been a guest on the podcast. Yeah.
She's incredible. She is our movement facilitator for the Dance of Destiny.
Mhm.
We have the percussionist and background singer from Michael Franti and Spearhead. His name is Manis Aitin. He's from Africa. He's an amazing drum circle leader. So we're going to be doing Tony's movement to African drumming. And
Wow.
if you're a woman and you have a drum, you have a djembe drum or any kind of drum that you like to use, you could come and bring your drum and you could drum with Manis and dance and come in and out of the drum circle and the dance however you like. So we're encouraging people to bring their drums. We're going to bring 3 of them for people to use. We have a sound healer, Laura Catone. It's a transcendent, like kind of like a magic carpet ride throughout the universe, and it's how we end the experience. So imagine dancing with Tony, myself, my wife Stephanie, and drumming with Manis. He does this incredible soul singing. Some of it is toning. It just opens up your heart when he does it. It's truly a transcendent experience. And then we end with Laura leading some sound healing while I'm guiding the final yoga nidra. So that's going to be about a half hour. The Dance of Destiny, the purpose is to release ancestral trauma through dancing and drumming and through some affirmations through my work, and also a little bit of Qigong as well. Stephanie's going to lead us in a 5-minute Qigong to settle us down to get into that Yoga Nidra sound bath. It is going to be an amazing experience. The weekend retreat has 4 group emotional healing sessions with me. The week-long retreat has 8. So those sessions are about 2.5 hours each. We're going deep into childhood traumas or more recent traumas that have occurred in our adulthood. Mothers and daughters come, sisters come, women from all walks of life come. The common thread and the common bond is that we're all showing up to let go. And the supportive, loving environment kicks off right from the start. Right from that opening night, you're going to learn more about the person next to you than we know about most of our family members. And that's how we gel. And the trust and the unconditional love and support become so palpable. One woman referred to it as such a safe space that the parts of her that were afraid to come out come forth and are allowed to release. So this is the kind of environment that we create. Throughout the week, I'm also leading a lot of Yoga Nidra sessions. So by the time you're done, you'll have experienced deep emotional healing, dancing, Qigong, meditation, a sound bath, and a bonfire on the Sound of Music Hill. It's really a special experience where you are just coming to vibe with your new tribe. You actually meet people, usually from the tri-state area, but we have people that come in from Canada, Michigan, Florida, all over. And every retreat is different. This one's going to be special because we have Tony coming in, Manis coming in. That's going to add a whole nother element to all
That
this.
is another level. I mean, those are some really big players. And when I had Tony on the show, she was episode 174. We talked about Journey Dance. And I had done other types of programs with the dance incorporated, and bringing music and movement into healing is so essential. It's so important. So learning from her is going to be such a gift. So that's an amazing group of people, including the ones that are going to be attending. We will put all that in the notes of the podcast as well about the upcoming women's retreat. And if you wind up seeing this afterwards, you definitely need to just follow Brett and Stress is Gone, because there's always something else you're doing. I know you just came back from the Bahamas. You've done Omega. You've done Kripalu. So there's always something that you're working on. And quite frankly, I hope that we're going to be collaborating on something soon together too, because I can totally see that alliance.
Absolutely.
On that note, I'm curious, where do you see the nature of the world going now? We're living in really turbulent times. As someone who has been in service, supporting others for so many years, both you and your wife, where do you see it being our responsibility and what we can do to heal ourselves and on a greater scale, hope to heal the world?
So I think you just nailed it down when you said our responsibility and heal ourselves. That's what we can do. So this is such a big topic.
It's a loaded topic.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say is the universe isn't torturing us. The universe loves us. It enlightens us through trauma and emotional pain and stress. We just haven't figured out how to play the game yet. Here's the game. All right. Like if you turn on the news or you hear things going on in your life and it feels like the universe has this big screwdriver and it's just like ratcheting down on you and you just get more stressed and more stressed and more stressed. All the stress that's coming up for you is coming up to leave you. The problem is we're in a catch-22. When that stress hits our brain, our ego holds on to it. It says, I'm so stressed. I'm so sad. I'm so angry.
Mm.
Every time you say that, human beings are manifesting machines. The subconscious, to me, is completely aligned with the universe. When we say, I'm so sad, the universe is listening to us and obeying every thought with like a platoon of soldiers and workers that carry out your thoughts. So the universe is actually pushing us to mature how we think and speak, to focus on what we want, to be grateful for what we want, so that it starts to unfold in our field. It's almost like this, like how mushrooms can just show up in the back of your yard. You're like, how did
Mhm.
that get there? Right? Like a little patch will come up, right? Like I didn't plant it. It just pops up. And that's how the things that we manifest pop up. The problem is this: every thought and emotion is throwing paint on the canvas of the next moment. So when you say, I'm so upset, I'm sad, I'm angry, or you're watching the news and you're like, how dare those people? And you're blaming them, you're creating another moment of all that angst. So unplug the TV, unplug yourself from the stuff that is not in your immediate field. What is in your immediate field is what the universe wants for you. So look around where you're watching this podcast. That's what the universe wants from you. If you're going to plug into the news, now you're plugging into someone else's karma. And because we have a body and we're connected to through the field, we're going to feel it all. Okay. But if you weren't born in that neighborhood, in that part of the world, that was not your soul's karma to be ingesting. Okay. Now, what we can do as a responsible citizen of the world is to embrace our stress, right? Right where you feel the universe is ratcheting it down on you, embrace it with the touch, your breath, express all your feelings, command your higher power to shine light through it, to unlock it and release it and melt it down from the inside out. When we do that, we're creating new space inside the body, emotionally and mentally, to call in our own divine essence, the true you, the real me, and the real you, right? And that's when we can start making decisions from the higher faculties of who we truly are in this field. And that's when you're creating a better world. Think about the times when somebody walked by you if you were having a bad day. I want to bring up this woman from our last retreat at Kripalu. She was going through an awful experience in the mental health field with a family member, right? And she was just down. She was walking across the street in New York City, going into the hospital, and a homeless man was walking towards her. And he just said, "Hey, elevate, baby, elevate," with a big smile on his face. And she was like, whoa. They kept on walking, and she turned around and he was looking at her and she said, "Elevate, baby, elevate." And even when she says this story, her energy blows up like a helium balloon. So we have to just remember how much a twinkle in the eye, how much a gentle smile, or just an open heart
Mm.
affects those around us. If we're in line at the checkout counter, if we're pumping gas, it's understanding that we're all energy. And when we see somebody that might be having a bad day, you might not have to say anything, but just knowing that there's love coming through you. And that is how we increase the unconditional love in the fabric of the universe here, by opening up our hearts. So if we could become conscious of when our hearts are closed and open, right, and then start to choose to open our heart when it's closed, we are doing humanity a divine service, a divine service. And I know many of us are like called to go protest and things like that. Personally, I'm in a place where I understand that calling. I did go to protests when I was younger, but there's friction. And what I want to do is love all the friction inside my soul so I can fulfill my soul's purpose. Because when I'm in a state of friction, I am disconnected from my soul's purpose. When my heart is open, now the universe can use me as a special agent of unconditional love to let my gifts come through. And I want to end it on that.
I absolutely could not 110,000% agree more, especially that last part, because everybody feels like we have this responsibility. We have to step up. We have to say, we have to talk, we have to preach, we have to march. If that works for you, go for it. But I too, like you, feel like I don't want to come from that space. That's not how I'm of service to others. You don't need my voice to be that, right? It doesn't mean I'm not a soldier of peace and spirituality and resolution, but we serve in different ways, much like in any, and I love it. We keep using the military analogies, but we all serve in service in different ways. Not everyone is frontline on the battlefield. You have to have
Right.
people that are in the back pushing the pencils or doing the deeper work in a different way. So I think it also means let's be less judgmental about how we are of service in this world. And that can be hard sometimes because I think in some ways it causes us to check our own ego. And if it doesn't feel right and it feels unsafe, we're going to step up because we feel like this doesn't feel right. I feel guilty. I'm mad. I'm feeling all these emotions. So feel. That's okay too. But the way you express that just it it resonates so deeply with me because I feel that same thing of not feeling like I have to do the things maybe I did in the past, but that's not how I want to be of service now. You know? What you're doing, what I'm doing, even just like this podcast. A couple minutes ago, you mentioned that we watch a lot of TV and we're looking at our phones and we're reading the news. Well, you know what? You can actually go and explore 200 and such episodes of Holistically Speaking if you want to get in a different energy, because that's what this show's about. That's how I'm showing up as a soldier, providing people like Brett who are offering master classes and being a good human being. It starts right here. So imagine just going through more of these episodes. Start here, hit Tony's, hit the others, and you'll see how you feel just because you're taking that in. Wouldn't you say?
So I love how you say how we're taking it in.
Yeah.
We are sponges,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we think just newborn babies and younger kids in our formative years are sponges. We're always sponging everything, everything. So right now, when you're watching this, you're sponging in good stuff, right? Because we're talking about coming back to our own divine essence, our own true nature, our soul's purpose. This is where the gold is, I personally feel,
Mm-hmm.
and the inner light comes through. Be aware of where you're plugging into. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
All in the field. It's all frequency and vibrations, right? So you want to feel the frequency and the vibration of what you're plugging into, right? Is it stressing you out? Listen, I I watch probably 3 to 4 minutes of the news just to see a quick snapshot,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But I watch it like I'm watching a movie or theater. I'm not like, oh my God, the world. And there's things that Stephanie will watch next to me and she'll have that reaction
Mm-hmm.
and I understand it, right? But I'm saying I watch this as everything is a movie. I'm not buying into the story anymore. I know who I am and we're in the field together. This is temporary. And when I say I know who I am, I know the part of me that's eternal. That's the part I've been nurturing for 26, 27 years now. That relationship and that understanding and that knowledge and that wisdom. So I'm really looking at this as if it's a story. It's temporary. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
My body's going to be dust. That flower's going to be dust. This computer's going to be dust. The wall's going to be dust. Everything is going to be dust. So the only thing that's real is the flicker in the eye, the flicker in your eye, the flicker in my eye, the flicker in our pet's eyes, that wherever it is, right? That flicker, that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that lasts forever. Okay? So I want us to remember that there is a story out there and I want you to write your own story because we've been programmed since freaking kindergarten of how to think, how to behave, how the world works, and it's all BS. You can write your story from your essence from this moment forward. You can by tuning into it and expressing it. That's it.
I feel like you're talking right to me. As I'm sitting here finishing my book, I'm like, he said I need to finish my story, and I'm going to finish my story. But it's more than just whether you're writing a book or not. This is your book of life, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the way you say that is just everything you've been saying just is resonating so deeply, and I can imagine that those who are tuning into this podcast, whether they are watching it on YouTube at Hilary Russo's channel, they are listening to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, this conversation is a must save. And I mean, like, listen and watch it now, come back to it later, download it so you don't forget, because this is not information going out of style. This is not a trend. This is life, people. So give yourself the gift of adding to your masterclass of lifelong learning as a good human being. And absorb it any way you choose. But there's little nuggets here. And let me just say that if you want to grab the resource, I will put that in the notes of this podcast, the free resource from Dress Is Gone, the women's retreat. If you wind up watching this prior to the end of March, get on that bus and get over there to Pennsylvania and sing from the hills of the Sound of Music
Yes.
and dance. I'm telling you, I'm tempted. That's my birthday weekend. So I don't
It's going
know.
to be amazing.
Oh, it sounds amazing. But I want to play a little game with you as we close things out. I do this with my guests. What I've been doing is I've written down a number of words. This is called the brain candy game. And this is how kind of a word association. So, words that you've said, we've had in conversation. I'm going to throw out one word. I would love for you to come back with one word that comes to mind. See how you can hug it out with yourself. And let's play a little brain candy, shall we?
Sure.
I love that you close your eyes right there for a second. Bring yourself to center.
Yeah.
Spencer spoke. Okay, here we go. Himalayan.
Salt,
Okay, cool.
which is like crystal pure,
Perfect.
right? Frequency, holds energy.
I love that. I love that you went there. Awareness.
Love,
PTSD.
healing,
Trauma.
love,
Spirituality.
BS.
Veterans.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. It's okay. This is your journey, right?
Yeah.
Veterans.
Love,
Jealousy.
love. You can see my approach. My approach is like loving everything.
I'm gathering there's a pattern here. Release.
I'm going with love. Love is just
Hey,
coming out.
if that's the first word, go with it.
Yeah.
Spokes
All
and stress.
love. So for me, it's almost like the things that require energy.
Yeah.
It's like a vacuum
Yeah.
that opens my heart, and the love just comes through. So like
Yeah.
PTS, stress, trauma. It just my heart just opens and goes there. That's where that whole thing happens.
And interestingly enough, I feel it. So that's what we talk about with the energy. Is it what you're
Yeah.
putting out? You're emitting that. You're that's going to wherever it's going. But I felt that because I'm in receptive mode to it, right? So thank you. I feel all that love and everything you've shared has just been so beautiful, Brett. I'm so glad we connected, and there's a wonderful alliance here, and I couldn't wait to have you on the show. And just having this time with you has even elevated that for me. Why I know that this partnership and this friendship will be expanding. So, and I hope others feel that way that are tuning in as well. Is there anything that you would love to share with those who are tuning into Holistically Speaking?
Yeah. So I just want to say that you're it. You are the thing that you're looking for. Whatever you're looking for, whatever you're grasping for, do a 180 and just here it is. Here it is. Whether you have to look in the mirror, close your eyes, see the image of yourself, and look right through those eyes that were reflecting back to you and go through that way, or just coming to it from your heart, your touch, your breath. This is where everything is. You already have everything you need. You don't need to go out there. Now, people like myself, Hilary, right? Your support system, they help us. It's almost like a crutch. We help each other get through the tough times, but the universe wants to have an intimate relationship with you because it is part of you. It's waiting for us to talk to it, to give our biggest problems to it. It's right there waiting for generations. So this is a really cool opportunity for us just to bare our soul, right, to the universe, which we're already one with. And in those moments, we remember we're one with it. Just like the image on the Sistine Chapel on the ceiling, right? That's where the connection point is with us, our higher power, when we hand over our pain. Boom, now we're connected. I want to leave on that. And also, stressisgone.org is our nonprofit. If you're interested in coaching, our daily membership, that's where my wife and we teach every day at 9 a.m. That's stressisgone.org. And anyone that is watching this, I'm going to throw out a promo code. that if you want to get coaching, if you're dealing with a lot of built up emotions or a traumatic memory that just kind of like isn't going away, I encourage you to try this out. You get a coaching session. When you're about to pay, put in the promo code HEALING. The price will go in half. Okay, so I encourage you to do that because I want to make this work available to you. And from my heart to your heart, I love you, and I just want to reconnect so that you feel reconnected, so that you could do what your soul is destined to do. That's what makes the world a better place.
I want to let people know that's news to me. He just shared this, and so it just says that there's this desire to want to help, desire to want to connect. So thank you for that offer. I'm going to put that in the notes of the podcast as well. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for anyone that decides to say, "I'm in. Let's do this." There's so many ways that we can support each other in this world, and I highly recommend reaching out to Brett to make that part of your life.
Awesome. And I always, after like my bigger talks with a lot of people, like the one in the Bahamas, I always say, look, just meet me halfway. If you're going through it, just meet me halfway. And what I found in my first 3 years on this journey was that when I take one step towards God or the universe or my higher power, that takes 100 steps towards me. So just when you turn towards it and you take a step, that's when the magic starts to happen. Often we just kind of feel stuck in where we're at. But as long as you turn towards it and take that step forward, things start changing fast.
Wow. Love that. Thank you so much, Brett. This has been so wonderful. I always enjoy our conversations. And I'm just I feel so blessed. And I don't mean that in a spiritual, religious way. I just mean that like truly heart center in the middle of the spokes, blessed that this can be available to people and these relationships happen and these partnerships are building. And we're all part of this. We're all part of this. And we're all part of this big blue marble and beyond. And together, we can heal the world.
That's right. One soul at a time.
One soul at a time. If you are looking for more ways to be kind to your mind, I want you to go ahead and hit that bell and subscribe button now so you never miss an episode of Hilistically Speaking or any of the other content that I release here on this YouTube channel. You have so many opportunities to connect with Brett. Sign up for his Stress Is Gone free resources or his generous offer that he just shared of half off a session if you use the word healing when you go to his website. I'm going to add all that to the notes of this podcast as well. Plus, a chance to connect with Brett and some amazing healers that you heard us talk about during this podcast at the 5-day women's retreat. This is in person to heal emotional pain at the Himalayan Institute. The link to grab your spot is also in the notes of this podcast. And why not take the opportunity to join me every month live online during my free Havening happy hours? This is your chance to put emotional well-being in your hands. It's also an opportunity to regulate your nervous system with me as your guide. You can also find resources to my intro to Havening, as well as if you're interested in becoming a Havening Techniques practitioner, all my trainings, my events, the free events as well, are online on how you can put the future of holistic mental health in your hands. Music for Hilistically Speaking is brought to you by my dear friend Lipbone Redding. Give him a like, a follow, and subscribe wherever you get your music. And I just want to say thank you again and again for tuning in, for making Hilistically Speaking part of your day. I'm grateful for you. I just want you to know. On that note, I love you, I believe in you, and I'm sending hugs your way. Be well.